We're live now.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, this time I'd like to call the Personnel Policies and Procedures meeting to order. Roll call, please. Yes, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Chavez. And Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. And it looks like Commissioner Burrell or Chavez is logging in right now as well. So you have at least 3, if not 4 committee members present, and that does constitute a quorum.
Okay, at this time I'd like to ask Commission President Johnson to do our invocation and Commissioner Jackson to do our Pledge of Allegiance, please.
All right, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you first of all to say thank you. Thank you for giving us life. Father, we ask that you would guide our hearts and our minds, that we make the right decisions for our parish. We ask that you also touch other elected officials, that they will do the right things in their particular area. Father, we ask that you also cover our law enforcement and our military. These things ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right.
Commissioner Jackson, if you're speaking, you might be muted.
All active and military veterans, please render the proper salute, and I'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Johnson and Jackson, next order of business.
All right, at this point, it'd be appropriate if you want to consider a motion to consider all the items under Louisiana Revised Statutes 4217.1.
So moved.
Second.
I heard that from Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Jackson or Hopkins. I couldn't.
Either one, it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Did y'all want a roll call on that, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a yes on the a yes or no on the approval of the agenda.
Oh, yes.
Okay, great. Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That motion carries with 4 in support and none in opposition, 1 absent. And that at this point, this is where your certificate of teleconference is attached. That brings us to public comments, where citizens are asked to submit public comments online before the meeting, or they're able to call during the meeting. The number that they can call if they'd like to make public comments, which are limited to 3 minutes, is 318-226-6596. Again, that phone number is 318-226-6596. We have not received any online comments today. So do you want to allow a certain amount of time or just give it a couple minutes?
Yeah, just give them about a minute. And if they haven't called by then, we'll move on.
That sounds great. Again, that number, if anybody is interested in calling in, is 318-226-6596.
All right, if there are no rings, I think we ought to
I've
go
got no
ahead to the next
calls.
order of business.
We've got no calls on this end. So we'll move on to new business, where our first item today, 6.1, is to discuss the proposed revisions to the Caddo Parish classified personnel policies, rules, and regulations. There are a couple of documents attached to the electronic agenda, and those were distributed via email to participants today as well.
Okay, at this time, what I'd like to do is, Ms. Bryant, if you would, either you or whoever, Ms. McGee, would give us basically, I guess, the summary of revisions, and then if there are any questions from commissioners, we can go from there.
Okay, yes, sir. I actually have a presentation put together for the summary, if I can share my screen.
You should be able to share your screen, Cheryl. I think you have permissions. If you have any problem, let me know.
Okay. I'm gonna assume everybody can see that. And it's basically the two documents that we sent out, the summary and the actual policy with the revisions. It's a combination. I've combined those two documents to go through them. So first up are some updates throughout the entire document, changing the Department of Finance and Human Resources to the Department of Human Resources, which that change occurred back in 2019, and also changed the Director of Finance and Human Resources to the Director of Human Resources throughout the document. And just to be consistent, change department head to department director throughout the document. The first section, section 1, administrative policies, there's no changes to policy 100. Policy 101, definitions, just clarifying the relationships as far as immediate family is concerned, father, stepfather, father-in-law, etc. And y'all, please just stop me if you have any questions. Probationary period, adding that an employee cannot apply for other job opportunities while they're still serving their probation period, unless authorized by the parish administrator. No changes to policy 102. Section 2, employment policies, no changes to policy 200. 201, compensation, under promotions and reclassifications, adding that an employee promoted or reclassified to a higher pay range shall receive an increase up to 10% or at least $2 per hour, whichever is greater, which is to encourage employees to apply for promotions, reward employees for such an achievement, and most importantly, retain talented employees while staying within budget parameters. Also, remove to the closest matching salary on the new grade. It's just redundant. It's described in 1B. Let's see, H3, out of class assignments. Just stating that the employee who has to be in an out of class assignment needs to be performing the majority of the duties of the higher classification in order to receive out of class pay. Telecommuting, it's a new policy, just providing some guidance on temporary telecommuting. And basically temporary telecommuting must be approved by the department director for temporary circumstances such as business closures, inclement weather, special projects or business, and telecommuting arrangements that exceed 2 weeks must be pre-approved by the director of human resources, and the assistant parish administrator.
I had a question on that one.
Yes, sir.
I noticed in there, and that's this also references doing business from home, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I noticed that there wasn't anything mentioned in here as it relates to our health and safety situation, especially during the COVID. I don't know how that would be structured, but we're doing a lot of temporary telecommuting due to health and safety issues, and I don't see that reference in here. Maybe it is, it's just that I didn't pick it up. You understand what I'm asking?
Yes, sir, I believe I do. Basically, this telecommuting policy is just putting a little structure to when an employee is at home teleworking. They need to adhere to all the regular personnel rules. They would have to follow any directives put out by parish administration, how they should record their hours, that they need to basically follow their normal schedule. So if their normal schedule was from 8 to 5, then that's what they should work. And if they don't, then say they only work 8 to 3, then they need to notate that on their timesheet. And also, most importantly, make a written record of, the work they're performing so that we can monitor and make sure that, their time telecommuting is productive.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was just that in that on the O and the first, you give the different arrangements, meaning you give different circumstances. I know you can't include them all, but just so happen we are in a situation where we're doing temporary telecommunication. So it just kind of stood out to me. It's no big deal. I understand what you're doing. It's just
Okay.
that this was a circumstance that I didn't see in there, and I thought maybe we might want to add.
Right. So Commissioner Burrell, so you're saying on number 1, where we're mentioning the different situations that we could probably add something for, not necessarily, we don't want to say specifically COVID, because in this,
right.
we're compiling this policy because we've come to realize there are other situations where we would institute a telecommuting. So we could add something that covers.
I just said health and safety, something like that.
Or, yeah.
That, I mean, that type of thing.
Okay.
That's a suggestion. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Policy 202, no changes. Policy 203, performance evaluation. This is just providing a little additional detail for the current performance management system that's in place. Before, it basically talked about annual performance evaluations, and we wanted to put in place that there's an annual performance evaluation. There's also a 6-month evaluation, and there's also a mid-year evaluation. So just to clarify how in-depth our performance management system is. Are there any questions for that one? Okay. Item D, performance feedback. This is defining a practice that we have of providing ongoing performance feedback to employees when improvement is required, but also when we want to acknowledge a job well done. And this actually came out of our internal audit. They wanted to see a little bit more detail about our performance management system. So that's why these updates have occurred. Policy 204, resignation and termination. Under general procedures, this is regarding payout of vacation leave to terminating employees. And we're updating the verbiage to indicate that vacation will be paid out according to the proposed revisions to the vacation policy 302, which we will cover in about a page and a half. Item D is to add former employees who had less than satisfactory work record will not be considered for rehire or volunteer opportunities without approval of the parish administrator. Policy 205, no changes. Policy 206, residency. This was an ordinance enacted in 2013 that just didn't make it to the personnel policy manual. So we're including it now.
I had a question on that one.
Yes, sir.
I know this is a very, very important issue because I dealt with it. Matter of fact, I had to go to court on it. And my question is, how do we define a residency?
As a Caddo Parish resident?
Well, I mean, as a, because this is normally peculiar to people who are in your higher administration, like your CEO, your administrator, and I think the clerk of the commission. I know that it also applies or has applied to public officials, where you have to determine what you consider your residency. Is it your domicile, or because you could have more than one residence? And normally it's defined do we go to that extent, or we just say residency?
So the purpose of this ordinance being in the personnel policy is to allow classified employees to have an understanding what is required to become, an unclassified employee, being the parish administrator, parish attorney, or commission clerk. I may have to defer to Donna Frazier as far as how is that investigated or proven.
Well,
Commissioner,
yes, ma'am.
I'm looking it up because it's actually a reference from a specific ordinance that the commission passed, and I think that may address it. So, if you all can go on to something else, we can come back to that. If I can
That'd
see
be
if I can
fine.
pull it up.
Thank you.
I don't have any heartburns over it. It's just that I know that it has been an issue in a number of different cases. So I was just asking about it since I'm on the personnel committee.
I think Mr. Jackson has a question. Mr. Jackson, your hand was up.
Yeah, no, I was going to try to clarify. Commissioner Burrell led right into where I was going about residency versus domicile, and what's the difference, or is there a difference as it really? Of course, there is the case for public officials, and but I don't know that we've ever did any. I don't know that we did anything related to distinguishing the two or anything, and I'm not sure that it matters really. I don't know. So that's what I was. That's why my hand popped up. But I put a note in the chat that I said I think we may be asking about residency versus domicile. So
I was gonna, and there's gonna be a difference in what has been applied, because the residency and domicile requirements as relates to elected officials, I believe are based on a state law, and it's going to be probably a little different than what we apply here. But I'm still looking for that particular provision.
okay, thank you.
While she looks for that, we'll move on.
Okay, yes, sir.
I got one deal.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I thought at one point in time we had talked about also putting the department heads in that.
Commissioner, there was a time we did have department heads, but the commission voted to take that out. So if that was a change that wanted to be put back in place, we would probably need a recommendation from the personnel committee to administration to craft that once again to present to the full body. But it was at one time it was in there, it was changed, and then it was rescinded to only cover the persons that are the positions that are mentioned in this particular change here. The other department heads were removed.
Well, I would like to see where we put department heads in that. I mean, they get a fairly good salary.
Yeah.
And those property taxes would be benefiting more Caddo Parish than any other parish.
I just want to point out that you would need to, the way we got to this was via ordinance. So you would actually need an ordinance other than what's addressed in the personnel policies, because personnel policies actually have to follow the ordinance. So you all would need to pass an ordinance putting that in there.
So all these changes went through the ordinance?
The changes for residency that comes directly from the ordinance that you all passed when you put the requirements on the administrator and parish attorney.
And Commissioner, once we
but all this stuff that's highlighted yellow was an ordinance. That's what y'all telling me.
No.
No.
So the other changes that we will be proposing to make, we will present as an ordinance to the commission to vote on. The other items that are highlighted in yellow, this particular item has already been voted on as an ordinance, and we're adding it to the personnel policy.
Because you all added that basically as qualifications for those positions.
All right, but all of this got to go back to the body to approve, right?
Yes, but what I'm saying is just approving it in the personnel policy won't make it applicable. You're going to actually need to change your descriptors for your positions. So that's going to end up being a different ordinance.
Okay,
Because if you're going to put that as a qualification.
all right.
Let me comment since I guess I started this dialogue. I had the experience, I guess, from the standpoint of the city, and I know the city and the parish is different, but we had employees, heads of departments that were living outside of our city, and then they were running city departments. And we found that many of them don't have the loyalty to the city if they don't live in that city. We even had law enforcement, high law enforcement that lived in Bossier, and then they were administering departments in Shreveport. It's just like the mayor living in Bossier and then being the mayor of Shreveport. So that's where my conflict came in, and I didn't mean to open up a can of worms, but I thought the issue was important to define. Thank you.
And let me just say that I kind of fall on the other side of that, in that when you do only Caddo residents, you shrink that availability of residents that are able to apply and get these jobs. I mean, I understand the commission clerk and the administrator and the attorney, but a department head living in North DeSoto Parish and working for the parish, I don't see a problem. I mean, I was on the other side in that I even changed the state law through the legislature, doing away with an elected chief to an appointed chief so we could get better qualified people doing that job. So, I mean, there's two sides to that. That's just my point.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. And we ran into that same issue of, dealing with city issues, but we were able to resolve it because there was too many people living outside of the city that didn't have a commitment to the city. And we found that as being a conflict. And I understand your position because we dealt with that conversation too. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, you have your hand back up?
I got mine up.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, basically what I was saying is, the way that this is written, we can poll anybody from anywhere within the state or outside of the state, but within a year of getting a job, they need to move into Caddo Parish. So, that part of, we limiting ourselves, we're not really limited. If they want the job, then they're gonna move into Caddo Parish.
I agree.
And they have a year to do it. So I think it's doable.
And let me just correct myself. Actually, what you did in the other ordinance was amend the policy. So yes, you can do it in here.
Okay, so I would like to add that to paragraph A. Do we need to take a vote on?
That was a motion to
Yes.
add.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? I think we've had the discussion on it, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Just had to find my unmute button. It was hidden with the share screen. All right. Commissioner Hopkins.
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the motion.
The motion was to put back in the department heads had to be residents of the parish. Department heads.
Okay, so I guess I have a question. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can I?
Sure.
Start voting? I know a motion and a second may have been made, but
we have not voted, so your question's in order.
Okay, so does the department heads, do they take home cars or stuff like that? Because I do know that I think the city of Shreveport, they once had a policy that if you had a take home car, you either had to reside in the city of Shreveport or you had to park your car. Like if you see a police car parked at a fire station, those are those folks who are parking their cars there, particularly SPD. But then they reversed it at one point to allow if you live at least within Caddo Parish. So, you know, their issue was, you know, if you can't live in the city of Shreveport, at least live in Caddo Parish. But then I think at one time they just kind of got rid of it because I believe Barbara Featherson, who was the former water and sewer director, she lived in Webster Parish. So, but do department heads get take home cars, Erica? That may be a question for you.
Yes, sir. There are some department heads that have take-home cars. The lion's share do not. There are some that do and some don't. It just depends on their position. But while we're asking, I would like clarification. Will we be grandfathering in? We already have some department heads, and wasn't a condition of employment when they hired or?
Yes, that would be grandfathered. Those would be grandfathered, and those moving forward.
We already have some department heads, and wasn't a condition of employment when they hired.
This for both department heads and assistant department heads?
No, just the department
Just
heads.
department. And that will be basically anybody hired after the 1st of 2022 or after December 31, 2021. Will it state that or what?
That's a question to me.
No, I guess that's a question to Ms. Bryant.
I think Cheryl, what date do we have for these particular policies? I think we have.
Normally the effective date is the date that, you know, it passes the full body.
Unless we specify some otherwise.
Right. Unless specified otherwise, right?
Right.
Right.
So then my last question is, do we know right now who are our department heads? Do we have department heads that live in or don't live in Caddo Parish?
Yeah.
So we do, okay. Oh man, that's a tough one here. So would they be grandfathered in or would they have to move into Caddo Parish?
I think they really should be grandfathered if it was not a part of the hiring at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We just had some tough issues of a person not having the dedication we thought that they should have, a commitment to the city when they lived elsewhere. And that's what we ran into. And like I think things change as time goes by, things do change. And you know, a lot of times these laws change, but that was just our feeling at the time.
Okay. Is there
As maker of the motion, I would say that they would be grandfathered.
okay. That concludes my questions, yeah.
Any other questions, Ms. Johnson? I see your hand still up.
No.
Okay. Ms. Clark, roll call, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
No.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 3 in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent.
Ms. McGee?
Okay, so employees hired after December 31st are affected. Okay. All right, section 3, benefits, policy 300, medical benefits and group life insurance. This is just updating the health plan Uh, the eligibility for the health plan will be the first day of the month following date of hire so that it matches our other plans. Item 12 clarifies that when an employee terminates, they can continue, they can apply for continuation of coverage directly with the life insurance provider. The way it reads currently, it sounds like it will automatically be continued, and that's not the case. Policy 301, sick leave. This removes the limit on how much an employee can accrue and use during active employment. The original limitation implemented in 2018 proved to be a detriment to employee morale. Page 28, record keeping, it's just correcting a spelling error. Donation of sick leave, clarified that the employee the request for donated sick leave must be received. And this is for donation of sick leave. Each year, an employee can donate 8 hours of sick leave to the sick pool, and then they're eligible to use the pool the next year if they need it. So this is just making sure that we receive those forms no later than December 31st.
Ms. McGee, my question on that is, once they do the donation for the particular year, are they required each year to automatically do that, or only if they choose to?
It's not a requirement. It's true. It's completely voluntary. But in order to be eligible for donated sick leave next year, you have to each year you would have to donate 8 hours to the pool.
Okay.
So each year it starts over.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Item 3H is to clarify that a new employee can donate 8 hours to be able to receive donated time during the current year. And but they would have to donate another 8 hours by 12/31 in order to be eligible for donated sick leave next year. Okay, 3I, remove the up to 200 additional hours may be granted. This provision is only for new employees, as stated in paragraph 5. Item 6 defines if an employee exhausts their sick leave, then they must first use their compensatory time before using vacation time. Item 9, sick leave conversion. Employees hired before January 1st of 2007 may convert unused sick leave to years of service credit with the parochial employees retirement system. Employees hired after January 2007 cannot. So they cannot, because the parochial employees retirement system modified the eligibility requirements for those employees, which would require the employer to remit payment to the retirement system for the actuarial cost of any leave that is converted to retirement credit at the time of retirement or drop. So, termination of employment, just to reiterate that your sick leave balance will not be paid out to terminating employees. Commissioner Jackson has his hand up.
I think it's just been up, actually.
It may have been from last time. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Policy 302, vacation leave. This is removing the limit on how much an employee who was hired on or after January 1st of 2007 can accrue and use during their active employment, but also implement a limitation on the number of hours eligible for payout. So they're no longer limited as to how much they can earn and use during employment. But if they terminate employment, we are only going to give them up to 520 hours of vacation payout. And item C, just like the sick leave details regarding the parochial employees retirement system, it's going to be the same thing for the vacation leave conversion for employees hired after January 1st of 2007. And like I said earlier, this defines how terminating employees who were hired on or after January 1st, 2007 will receive pay out of accrued vacation hours not to exceed 520 hours. Holiday pay, or holidays rather, adding Juneteenth Day, which is the Friday before the third Saturday in June. Item 3 is correcting a spelling error. No changes in policy 304 or 305. Policy 306 is clarifying that open enrollment occurs at the same time as open enrollment for the group benefits as far as the cafeteria plan is concerned. Paragraph B removed that. Paragraph A defined when open enrollment occurs, so that's not needed. Item D, add that benefits may change when there is a change in IRS code affecting cafeteria plans, such as how COVID-19 relief for cafeteria plans temporarily allowed changes, like an employee could change their elections outside of an open enrollment period or for qualifying event periods. Policy 307, no changes. 308, no changes. Policy 400, Family and Medical Leave Act. Item C, under notice of leave, we're updating the procedure to include a third-party FMLA administrator. None of the actual requirements changed, all of the given 30 days notice and whatnot. None of those things change. We're just adding that we have a third-party administrator now that handles the family medical leave request. Item C4, to basically remind employees that they still need to follow their department's call-in procedures and report their absences in a timely manner, regardless, even if it is family medical leave, they still need to maintain that contact with their department.
Hello,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm fine. How you doing, Rachel?
Okay. I got a blank page there for some reason.
Commissioner Johnson, I think you're unmuted.
So this, again, is just updating the FMLA procedures for application for leave, showing that, they need to contact the third-party administrator for family medical leave. All the notice requirements and everything are still the same. Sorry for those blank pages. Page 47, failure to return from family medical leave. Item I2 is to clarify that an extension of leave is considered a personal leave of absence and not family medical leave. I2D, to change assistant parish attorney to parish attorney and to add their designees in the event of their absence. Family medical leave committee could still take place with their designee. And I2E, to add that COBRA continuation of health benefits will be offered should an employee exhaust their family medical leave entitlement and is in an unpaid status. Policy 401 and 402, no changes. Policy 403, workers' compensation. Item C is updating the process for reporting injuries. It's a new procedure. It's paperless. It's a third-party administrator online system and a phone-in system where they can report. Supervisors can report workers' comp injuries. Policy 500, code of conduct. Item G. Again, this is an ordinance that had taken place that just never made it to the personnel policy book for some reason. And it specifies that employees are ineligible to contribute to the campaign funds or take part in a campaign of any candidate for Caddo Parish Commission.
Dang it.
Let's see, 501 and 502, no changes. 503, harassment and discrimination, just adding the recent requirement of the 1 hour of annual training each calendar year for employees, and that supervisors require 2 hours, and that the Director of Human Resources and parish attorneys who are responsible for investigating claims have to have 3 hours total. 504, no changes. Policy 505, discipline and termination. Under A, types of disciplinary action, non-punitive. This is to clarify the progressive disciplinary system that we have in place, which allows for verbal warnings, written warnings, and performance improvement plans. And the only thing really, I apologize, my formatting kind of got screwy here. Before we had coaching and counseling. Well, coaching is an everyday expectation of a supervisor. The true first disciplinary action would be a verbal warning. And it provides the steps for the verbal warning. The next step would be the written warning. If I need to go in through any of these, please let me know. And then the one thing that was not included in the last policy manual was our performance improvement plan as being a discipline step. And again, this came from our internal audit. They identified that we didn't have this clarified within the policy. So we're adding the performance improvement plan here in that process. Policy 506, no changes. Policy 507, vehicle use. Removing the paragraph J, accident report form. Again, our whole workers' comp liability claims reporting process is now automated. So that's unnecessary. Also unnecessary is K, accidents. That's just as far as formatting goes. And accident reporting on page 91, it defines the steps required to report a vehicle accident as it relates to reporting claims to our third-party administrator. Again, it's a paperless process. Policy 508 and 509, no changes. Policy 510, media policy. These were existing guidelines that we had been following and now incorporating them into the personnel policy manual. And I included that in the entire the entire policy in the summary pages. And the same for 511, social media policy, incorporating existing guidelines. And that should be it.
Thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners?
I'd like to propose an amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'd like to include in the, who's controlling the screen? Can you go back up to the holiday section?
Sure.
I'd like to offer as an amendment to this policy to provide for the federal elections to be a parish holiday. I guess I'm not going to get a second for that.
Second.
Yeah, there they are. Yeah. So I'd like to add election day, federal election days. Were those Tuesdays to be a parish holiday. And basically, nationally, there is a movement where local governments and businesses are recognizing Election Day as a holiday. And so giving individuals that time to not have to get off work, make it to the polls, do all the stuff in between. So just trying to be consistent with what's going on across the country, near and far. So there are some localities in and around Louisiana, as well as our neighbors in Texas, that are they're basically giving their employees an opportunity to have that election day to go out and exercise their right to vote. So I would like to see Caddo Parish adopt that as well. Thank you.
Clarification, please.
Mhm.
The election day, are we talking about one day, not all election days? I mean, we have
Yes.
a number here.
Yes, just that election where it's the Tuesday. I think is it the first Tuesday in November? That first Tuesday in
Presidential
November.
election day.
Right, presidential, and I'm not sure, but I think midterms may cover that as well, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I second that.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, and Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 4 in support, none in
Mr.
opposition.
Chairman, I also got a motion too.
Okay. Okay, sir.
And it's on holidays as well. I would like to make the motion to have the employees to have the option to take President's Day or a floating holiday. If I get
Okay.
a second, I can explain it.
Second.
All right. So I think every year, the employees ask one commissioner to see if they can get a day. I think it's around Christmas Eve, as their day off, and we do that. If we do it this way, they have the option to either take President's Day, or they can take Christmas Eve, or they can take, some other day that's a holiday instead of President's Day.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, sir.
Now, did somebody just add C to or was that always there?
Oh, it's been there.
Okay.
C is
So I guess as I understand this new motion, so my motion really is irrelevant if C was already there.
No, C is President's Day. That's a different day. That's
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just scatterbrained. I'm sorry. Okay. So they would choose, but then, and so if they're choosing, then that means so if they're choosing, then that technically means the parish can't shut down. Like, I think for planning purposes, they need to know, how to staff up and things like that. So if they're choosing, would we technically, Erica from administration, how would that look if they get the option to choose? Because what if, half choose President's Day? I mean, if half choose Election Day, I keep saying President's Day. If half choose Election Day and then the other half chooses, either the Christmas or New Year's holiday, how would that look administratively?
Right. Logistically, it would be difficult for us. Now, I will say the reason why we come to the commission and ask for those days for Christmas is because the state usually adopts those days. It's not in our policy. So we traditionally ask for those to be in with the state. There are also multiple agencies that are closed, the DA's office, the clerk of court, So we're trying to stay in line with them, and it's the same thing for President's Day. So yes, if we had employees to choose, then we would also have to provide certain services for those dates. Since all employees aren't off, will the buildings be closed? Will the buildings not be closed? If there are particular employees that if only one employee chooses to work on that particular day, how do you support that employee that's in the facility?
Okay,
So
that's enough. That's enough.
So
I'll
Linda, do
change
you,
I'll change my motion to say Christmas Eve, because that's the day that they always ask for. Am I right or wrong?
Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
so you want to swap Christmas Eve? Well, it would only be in those years though, right? It wouldn't be every year, basically.
It would be every
Yours will be the election year for the president. What I'm talking about, what we'll do every year, because basically we have to sit there and go through the motion and do it, and we just make it a policy, and then it's already there. So what I was just trying to do is keep us from having to do that every year.
Oh, so you're making it permanent.
Yes,
So you're moving
Christmas
away from
Eve, and I
election
think
day.
it was New Year's Eve.
Right, Commissioner, if we can just say in accordance with the state, because those dates are not necessarily New Year's Eve. It usually is, but let's say Christmas Eve falls on a particular day, the state may call that extra day a different day. So if we could just stay in line with what the state declares as their days, is what probably.
All right, so well, if we do that, then you're gonna have to be off for Mardi Gras.
No. I only mean for Christmas and New Year's, not for Mardi Gras.
No, if you use the statement of being in line with the state holiday.
In relation to Christmas, so on
Now you be handpicking. Now you handpicking. So if you're gonna use the statement of in line with the state holidays, then you have to also add Mardi Gras along with them other days, 2 days. Right?
No, I understand your point. I was just saying in relation to, you can add Mardi Gras, that's your choice. We were just saying when you mentioned, we would say in relation to Christmas and New Year's, what the state, not for all holidays, but in relation to Christmas and New Year's. But I mean, obviously, if you all want to add Mardi Gras, that's if you want to do that. But we also want to get the policy passed.
You through, Mr. Johnson?
Well, I'm trying to get this understanding. So we're gonna be 2 days instead of the 3 days. I know of state holiday, because I know, like I said, Mardi Gras is also a state holiday. I think it's Fat Tuesday is a state holiday that the state basically gives the state employees. So if we do M as other official state holidays, then that covers it.
Okay. Ms. Fraser, do you have a question?
I just had a suggestion about the language, but if this last statement resolves it, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Jackson, your hand's still up.
I think that may have been.
Okay.
I think that may have opened discussion up about Christmas and
I think
New
that covers yours as well, because I think that's a state holiday too. Presidential election day.
So
I would just say that, golly, our employees have more holidays than almost any business or group around, and I can live with every 4 years for election day, and I don't want to take away from President's Day. I think that's an important day. So I don't support changing anything and taking the others on a year by year basis, because if it shows up on the 25th of December as the holiday and it's Saturday, we only get that Friday off. So it takes care of the problem. Same thing with New Year's. So I don't support all the amendment. Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, I mean, that way, if it was a state holiday, it would be, that day would be covered already through the holiday, and it wouldn't count. Unless I'm missing.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, we for years have had quote unquote
Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, we still worked. And the only thing it affects, like the judges and things like that. So, I mean, I don't support it right now. So that's fine. I'm only one person.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, if there's no other roll call on this amendment,
All right, Commissioner Hopkins,
no.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
All right, that motion is approved with 3 in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent.
Okay. Any other questions? I know there's still, Mr. Burrell, you wanted to make a motion on the telecommuting item O1 and add health and safety. Is that correct?
Well, yes, if that's appropriate.
Okay.
I think we agreed that we should put something generic, not necessarily about COVID or anything. That's
Right. It just says health and safety. So that's your motion. We'll need a second.
yes.
Who was that?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Jackson seconded. Any other discussion on this? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I sure was muted. Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, and Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 4 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent.
Okay, at this time, since there's no other questions, I would move that we send the recommendations to the full body for approval. Okay, I have a motion second. Any discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, and Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 4 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent.
Ms. McGee, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Y'all did some good work. At this time, just wanted to touch base on our revisions to the our bylaws. I think our clerk almost has everything changed and showing up, but it wasn't quite ready to bring to the committee yet. So once he finishes, we'll call another committee meeting.
And
Let everybody.
if
Go
I
ahead.
if I
Mr.
could,
President.
yeah, what I'd love to do so that we can have a chance for everybody to review it is send it to you sometime early next week so that everybody has a chance to kind of review it before the next meeting. It's just there's a lot of small changes, and I may end up doing better with a document similar to what Cheryl had today. It's some of those changes are very obvious. Some of them are a little harder to notice. So in order to make sure we have a good review and can make a final recommendation, I thought it might be good to have a little time.
Okay, great. Yeah, and if you could do that and have it on a whiteboard like Ms. McGee did, that'd be perfect.
We'll do it.
Okay, any other business for the Personnel Committee today? All right, there being none, I entertain a motion to,
So moved.
okay. To adjourn, we have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. See y'all 3:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. 1 minute.